Hello everyone. Today I'll discuss one of the most interesting lecture from the history of English literature. So the topic of today's discussion is, was Chaucer secretly criticizing the English church? Before Reformation, there was only one church in the entire Europe, and that was known as Roman Catholic Church. Remember, Chaucer is writing in 14th century. There existed only one church, Roman Catholic Church, which was dominant one. So what were Chaucer's intention? What was Chaucer's agenda? What was Chaucer's mission when he was crafting his Canterbury Tales? So this is our today's discussion. Let's see and discuss in detail. Was Chaucer secretly criticizing the English church? Geoffrey Chaucer, who is known as the founder of English language. So Chaucer, father of English poetry and father of English language, for the first time he is crafting his Canterbury Tale in English language. Before him, rarely someone produced work in English language. That's why that he is known the first poet, the first person who is writing in English language, in Middle English. So he was also master storyteller, and we know from his famous masterpiece, that is Canterbury Tale. He is the pioneer of English vernacular. So the vocabulary he produced of the time of the 14th century, he is also the pioneer of that. But what if I told you that beneath the rhyme and pilgrims lies something far more dangerous? What was that? He was not just writing poetry. It wasn't just writing something in rhyme, okay, or telling stories. There was something dangerous. What was that? A coded rebellion. He rebelled against the church, but not openly, secretly, right? Implicitly, because still he was afraid of the church. So he rebelled against Roman Catholic Church. What the church was doing, he did not like it, right? So that was his agenda. That was his mission. That was the purpose behind writing Canterbury Tales. So a literary takedown of corrupt priests. So the priests of the time, they were very much corrupt in all aspects of life. Greedy friars. So we know about the priests, we know about the friars, how much there was greedy in them. And we know that abusive religious officials, how they use religion for their purpose, right? All disguise in innocent storytelling. So we know these all corruption. We know these all wrongdoer. We know the problem that was with Roman Catholic Church through the mouth of characters which were produced by Geoffrey Chaucer. So today we explore a question few dare to ask. Was Chaucer secretly tearing the church apart, one tale at a time? So what we know, that Reformation took place in 16th century. We know that Martin Luther King, German philosopher, right? But before Martin Luther King, there existed a character, a poet, a diplomat, right? Writer, that was Geoffrey Chaucer. So for the first time, Geoffrey Chaucer, he attempted to part the church, right? To rebel against the church. So that was the Chaucer. But Chaucer did not say this openly, but secretly, but implicitly, he is telling us. England in Chaucer's time. How England was in Chaucer's time? The 14th century England was religious, fearlessly so. So people were religious, right? They were afraid of Roman Catholic Church, of these ecclesiastical figures, right? Because people did not have the knowledge of the Bible. People hardly like only ecclesiastical figure or the knight or the king, they could read the Bible, while the ordinary people, they couldn't read the Bible. So what the churchman, what the priest, what the prioress, the friar, they told them, they believed, people believed, right? So the 14th century people were religiously, fearlessly so. The Catholic Church was untouchable. Now, what does it mean by untouchable? No one could ask question. No one could dare to ask question from Roman Catholic. Criticizing it openly could lead to excommunication or worse. If you ask question from the church, so the church or the pope could declare you excommunicate. Excommunication mean you do not belong to Christianity anymore, right? You were expelled from the religion. So that was okay, the condition, okay, that people could not dare to ask question from the church. But society was starting to crack. What was happening? You see, it is the end of medieval period. Medieval period is about to end, right? So people could not ask questions, but society was starting to crack, and we are turning toward Renaissance period. So what were the causes? What moved this medieval period to Renaissance period? So let's see. You can see here that the Black Death. Okay, so lot of like the priests, okay, these ecclesiastical figures like the monks, they died because of the Black Death, right? And entire Europe, it was a plague, and millions of people died because of this plague. So Black Death was one of the cause of this cracking of society. The next one was schism. That was the competition or rivalry among the popes, that who would be the leader of Roman Catholic Church, which also cracked society in 14th century. And you can see that who can forget peasant revolution, because these peasants, they suffered the most in medieval period. So they also revolted for their right, and this also led to the cracking of society. And who can forget Chaucer? Geoffrey Chaucer was there, right? Who was observing these all things, and then he started to criticize Roman Catholic Church. The Black Death, as I mentioned, had killed clergy in drove. Lot of clergy, ecclesiastical figure died because of this Black Death. And then the great schisms, as I told, competition and rivalry among popes, that who will be the leader of the church, had shaken faith in papacy. And then the peasants revealed anger at Chaucer's taxes, right? Sorry, church taxes. So because the church imposed heavy taxes upon the peasants, so the peasants revolt, right, against the church. So these are the cause and the reason. Black Death, Great Schism, and then the church taxes upon the peasants, which gave way to rebellion and a revolution. And here enter Chaucer, right? Great Geoffrey Chaucer, a courtier, a poet, a diplomat, but perhaps also a critic with a quill instead of a sword. He is going to criticize, not with a sword, right? Not with a sword, not with a weapon, but with a pen, with his writing, he is going to criticize, not with a force, but with writing. Now, here you can see, greet in God's name corruptions and deception or deceit. And we can see this in Partner's Tale. The spelling is incorrect, it is partners, right? So in the Partner's Tales, we can see greed in God's name, using God's name. C for corruption. And he is greedy. Who? There's partners. So corruptions, he's doing corruptions and he's deceiving people. How? Let's see. The Partner's Tale greed in the name of God. The partner is one of the most revealing character in Canterbury Tale. What was partner doing? He sells fake relics, right? Fake relics, not a genuine one, right? He's bringing from where? From the Rome. And he preaches against greed. You see, on the one hand, he's making money, right? He's collecting money. He's selling fake relics. And he's telling the story, right? Moral story, right? To who? To the other pilgrims and to the audience. Okay? That greed is worse, right? Or greed is not a good thing. Avoid greed. But he is himself a greedy person. So this is okay. The irony that Chaucer, he wanted to tell the people that what the churchman, what the clergy were telling the people, they were not doing themselves. They were not obeying. They were not abiding the rules of the church, rules of the Bible. But they are telling people. So we can see that while being the greediest man alive, this is okay, irony. This is satire of Chaucer. He is the greediest person alive on the earth that time. And he is telling the people that greed is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. Don't avoid greeding, right? Don't be selfish person. And he's himself one of the greediest person on the earth that time alive. So this is okay. The Chaucer is laughing and he's telling the people, look, okay, that the man is not doing, that is not fine. That's not according to the rules. That's not according to the church, the teaching of the Bible. What's he doing? He's using the name of the God to make money, right? So, real line is that radix malrums est adipis. So, it means, it can be translated that greed is the root of all evil. This is something very interesting. The partner is telling the other pilgrims and the audience, the readers, that greed is the root of all evils. And then he literally tries to sell the pardons that he just brought, okay, sake from where? From the Rome. So on the one hand, he's telling the people that it's an evil. What is evil? Root of evil is what? That is greed. And he is himself a greedy person. He is selling the partners. This is very interesting. Now, historical reality is that partners were real, right? That time they existed and they sold indulgences. What were indulgences? That was certificates brought by these people, fact certificates, and giving to the people. First they indulge people in wrongdoer, in sins, and then they ask them, okay, they buy these certificates and the money will go to the church. So promising they reduce time in purgatory. So they will spend a little time in purgatory and their souls will be clean and they will given a clean check to go to the paradise or heaven. This is something very interesting. So the system was rife with abuse and fraud. That was a total fraud, what these partners were doing. So Chaucer wasn't just mocking a man, he was shining a light on a broken religious economy. He's telling the people, okay, look at the economy, look how the church is making money, taking money from the people, right? And you see that these summoners, they are selling these certificates. So there's something very interesting, right? So the friars tells that a satanic brotherhood, dark secrets and deception. We can also see that a satanic brotherhood in the tales of the friar, who is also an ecclesiastical figure. See, the friar's tale, a satanic brotherhood. Now, the friar's tales tell the story of corrupt summoners. Now, what the friar is doing? He is telling us the story of a corrupt summoner. And this friar is himself a corrupt person, right? With extorts bribes and threatens damnations and ends up dragged to hell by the devil. He is talking about the summoners, that summoners are corrupt and they will be doing what? They will be sent to the hell. and they will be damned and sent to the hell. Right? So this is okay what the friar is telling to the audience. So translation would be like this: the very officials in charge of judging sins are committing worse sins themselves. What he's telling the people, right, this friar, he is also committing the greatest sins of the time. It's very something paradoxical. He's telling the people the summoner is not doing something well, right? He's corrupt. While what he's doing, he's also indulged in great sin. So the summoners respond with his own tale. He's telling his own tale and attacking the friar in return. The summoner attacking the friar while the friar attacks the summoner. So both attack each other, showing mutual hypocrisy within the clergy. How hypocrisy was there? How much hypocrite these people, these clergymen were. Both were corrupt, right? Both were not obeying the teaching of the Bible. One was accusing another one. The summoner was accusing the partners, and the summoner was accusing the friar, while the friar was accusing the summoner. So this is okay, the whole story. It's not just one bad apple. It's systematic rule. Not only one or two, but the entire society was like this. Systematic rule was there. And the summoner's tales, divine comedy or critical corruption. So we talked about the partner, we talked about the friar, now we're talking about the summoner. What the summoner was doing, a divine comedy or critical corruption. You can see here. The summoner's tale, divine comedy or clerical corruption. So it wasn't critical, but clerical corruption. How? A greedy friar visits a sick man. It's very interesting. Okay? A greedy friar. Because friar was greedy, so he visits a sick man and begging for money. Remember, okay? That time in 14th century. A greedy friar. Right? And this friar visits a sick man who was ill and begging for money. To give me money. He was himself sick and he was asking for money. Now the man fed up and promises a gift. The man fed up and he promised that he will give him a gift. And then what a man did, he farts on the friar's lap. He farts. It's something very, like we can say, impolite. But he farts on the friar's lap. Crude, yes, pointed, absolutely it's crude. So why did he fart on the friar's lap? This is the question. Let's see. So, symbolism. The fart represents empty promises. Empty promises. Fine? And false blessings and the sting of corruptions and cloak into spiritual robes. Historical context that Mendicant friars were criticized across Europe and exploiting the poor. Chaucer's story turns this religious greed into fears and exposing just how disgusting spiritual abuse can be. Right? How did Chaucer avoid censure? Because it was an easy task to criticize Roman Catholic Church. That was the most powerful body, institution of the time, even powerful from the king. Right? So how is it possible that you are going to criticize the church and you are not being caught? Oh, he did some tricks. What were the tricks? How did Chaucer avoid censorship? That his story also not censored, right? Published, and he's also safe. So what he did, let's see. How did Chaucer avoid censorship? He disguised critique as fiction. This was a critique, but in the form of fiction, right? So people thought it's a fiction, it's not true story. But he was doing what? He was criticizing actually Roman Catholic Church. Characters say the bold thing, not Chaucer himself. Okay, what the Chaucer wants, so he said it from the mouth of his character, from wife of Bath, from the knight, from the friar, from the prioress, from the monk, right? From the sumner, from the partners. So it was the intention of the Chaucer, but he is telling us from the mouth of these characters. So he saved himself, right? Second, that he uses humor and satire. He uses humor and satire, right? And you are laughing, but you are also thinking. On the one hand, you laugh. He is entertaining you people. But on the other hand, you think. But the purpose was not laughing. Behind this laughing was a very serious tone, right? He is unhappy with this bad things, what was going on with the Roman Catholic Church. He balanced the scale. Not all church figures are bad. The person is humble and virtuous. All these were not bad. There was person was not bad, humble and virtuous, and we know about the knight was also a virtuous one. Now, by creating a spectrums of religious figures, Chaucer criticized corruptions without attacking religious itself, right? So what was he doing? That by creating a spectrum of religious figures, he did what? Chaucer criticized corruption, right? Without attacking religious itself. He was not attacking it. But what was going on, okay, what people were doing on, what the clergymen were doing on, he was pointing out something. It's a brilliant subversions on it worked. Was Chaucer just reflecting reality? It's easy to call Chaucer a rebel, but maybe he was just holding up a mirror, right? Because something, actually, that if you want to know that how 14th century was, you have to read Canterbury Tales, and you know from Canterbury, it's a mirror reflection of the 14th century. So Wycliffe's Bible's translation was circulating undergrounds, and the Lollard movement was rising, demanding church reforms and attacking clerical greed. So we will continue here that Chaucer may not have joined their group, but he was clearly plugged into the same frustrations, what was going on in society. His fictions wise what people were worshipping or priests corrupt. Is the church losing its soul? Chaucer gave these whisper a stage. So we can conclude that a poet's quiet protest. The poet was protesting against the Roman Catholic Church. So was Chaucer secretly criticizing the English Church? Yes, but so secretly he exposed greed, hypocrisy, spirituals, decay, not with sermons or protest, but with stories. So he is telling us through story that there was corruption, there was greed, there was decay of the church. So these all things he is telling through stories. So Chaucer wasn't just telling tales, he was doing what? He was dismantling a system, one laugh at a time, but was also thinking about this. Action to call. Which of Chaucer tale do you think is most daring? So you might think that is the wife of Bath tale. So do you think that satire is still a safe way to speak truth today? Of course. It's a question from you. You can also comment, but we can say it's a safe way to criticize today's institutions, and we can see through social media. So drop your thoughts in the comment, and if this lecture video gave you a new lens on the medieval literatures, so hit like, subscribes, and ring the bell icons. So because sometimes the biggest revolutions are hidden in the oldest books. Thanks for watching. Please do provide your valuable comment about today's lecture. We will continue. We will talk more about Chaucer Canterbury Tales. In the next lecture, we will make comparison between today social media and how Chaucer Canterbury Tales were acting like that time 14th century social media platforms. Thank you so much.